to take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here.
Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay. Zoom and Pod brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. So here we are on CLNS Media. Gary and Bob. All right, we've talked about it at length with our other colleague, Jeff Goodman. Since the Celtics Game 1 win, which you said was more like they didn't lose, the team is saying all the right things. Do you think they got the message?
We'll see. You'd like to think so. Interesting, Joe Mazzulla, boy, he sticks to his guns, his principles, whatever cliche phrase we want to use to describe someone who is consistent, and he is downplaying the lucky, the fact that they won the game through equal parts skill, luck, and good providence at the end, that they should have lost, that it was Indiana's screw-ups that lost this game, plus a shot that Brown made. All right, he's saying that we messed up other periods, the end of period. He stresses always often that how you finish periods matters, and he's right. But he said it was more important, he's more concerned that they didn't finish the first and third periods as well as they should have, and then he was about the fact that they were, 3 points down without the ball with 8 seconds to go, and they wound up winning the game. And all right, so he's going to stick with that. But I think he should be, all right, fine. But he's not going to come out and say we were lucky. Like, they were.
They were, but, and I've thought about this a little bit, and I understand where you're coming from. The end of the third quarter was the key to the game for me, and I know he's focusing on that. Again, I feel he should go with the starters, forget the substitutions, and just put the hammer down and blow them out.
Yeah.
And if they did that, or if the subs, who throughout the year have done a very good job, continue to play well instead of being outscored in a matter of 30 seconds by whatever it was.
Yeah, 14-2.
Yeah, you don't have a close game at the end.
No, you're right.
I can appreciate his fact there. The one thing I will say, and because I was with you and Jeff about how they didn't lose, but Brown still made the shot.
Yeah.
And I know Jeff said he makes maybe 3 out of 100, but he still made it. And the other thing Brown did is when he chased down, I think it was Siakam, when he inbounded the ball, and he didn't come to the ball, as you and Jeff pointed out. But Brown, he still made the play. He still made some plays. So I give the Celtics a little more credit, I think, originally than I did. Mm-hmm. However, I think we all agree they have to get their act together.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are we thinking? It was 12-0. Because I'm a pessimist in regard to that. You can ask my wife what I said when it was 12-0. I said I hate this.
Right.
I hate that. 14-7. I don't like 12-0.
You're right.
And I'm just sorry. I've been proven right too many times. So I didn't like that. I don't know whether it put certain things in their head or not. It was. But anyway, they lost three double-digit leads in this game, starting with that one. Now that one, when there's 45 minutes to go, you can't get too worried about losing a 12-point lead. But the other ones didn't matter. Mazzulla's right about finishing periods. Now, in one case, there's Deus Ex Machina. There's nothing they could do about the shot that Halliburton threw in, banking in from 100 feet, whatever. That nobody can feel bad or guilty about that.
I know, it's a great shot.
Yeah, but I think it's fun. Universally now, the outside world has declared that the Celtics, should have lost. And they have renewed respect for Indiana and what they bring to the table. Although people are still saying, the Celtics are going to win, but they're lucky that they're up 1-0. But once again, I will remind people, had they lost, I would have been very confident about Game 3 in Indiana that they will win a game on the road. They will win.
Yeah, I agree. I wish the Celtics would move the ball the way Indiana does.
Oh, well. Well,
They just don't. They just don't.
the nature of their beast, it is. Can I say? Yeah,
I mean, but if they did move the ball the way Indiana does, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't work for them. Maybe the pound the ball into the floor, maybe that works for them. If they moved the ball like Indiana does, maybe it would throw them all off. But boy, if they played that kind of offense, they'd be blowing everybody out. But
it's an imperfect world,
I know. Well, it is. But you and I are perfect, Bob. We know that. Now let's get okay. Who are the Dallas Mavericks and where did they come from? They win on the road in Minnesota.
They ended the season very well, but it was under the radar. Nobody was paying attention to them. And then they knock off OKC. What's going on is that the number one thing, Doncic is Doncic. I mean, but he's hurt. He's been hurt apparently in the legs. He apparently looks much better last night. Kyrie Irving is playing the best ball of his life. Period. And it's interesting. Kyrie Irving. It may be that all the experiences he's had, good and bad, he has sifted through them all. He's 31 years old now, 31 or 2, and he's putting it all together. Physically, I always said he goes to the basket as well as any guy his size I've ever seen, ever. And he's playing the best basketball of his career. He got off to a great start in this game last night. He had 24 points in the first half. Okay, and so he's a different person and player than he was when he was here. That's for sure. And it's finally all put together. It's nice for him because he is talented. He deserves to have a career. He's put in the requisite work as an athlete, to get the spoils of it. And so good for him. In that regard, we love to hate him, but that guy may not be around anymore. This may be a new Kyrie Irving. Secondly, Doncic is he was the closer, and he even had a big defensive play, which may be the first notable one of his career. I mean, he's not noted for that. They got the 1-2 star punch, and they're getting just enough from and the third guy has come along, who they picked up in a trade. Give the brass credit, PJ Washington, and now he was a big time high school player, big time Kentucky recruit. And so the people the Jeff Goodmans of the world are well acquainted with PJ Washington, and will tell you, hey, I saw this coming. I saw him when. But he's arrived as a player of substance now, and Jason Kidd's been around the block a few times, folks. He's been around the block a few times as a coach and knows what he's doing. That's going to be, and this is at a point when we are all paying homage to Minnesota, the way that they knocked off Denver, the way they've been playing, and now we have to pay a little homage to Dallas. Does this have 7 written all over it? Maybe. Fine, good.
Well, I just think the basketball has been exciting.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That game was, now this basketball, the NBA is still the greatest basketball league in the world. These are the best players. The game is different than it once was. We had people like myself have to just come reluctantly to come to grips with the dominance of the three, but there's still people around that play the game, the old fashioned way. We're going to talk about one of them soon. And, these are good teams. And I think we've got 4 worthy teams left, and whoever emerges, I think we have a worthy champion. I do.
Prize Picks is America's #1 sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get out on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Now get in on the playoff action. Win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in just a few taps. Prize Picks is really simple to play. You can make a pick and submit an entry in less than 60 seconds. This week on Prize Picks, I'm selecting Jason Tatum to dish out more than 5 assists and for his teammate Jaylen Brown to have more than 22.5 points. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit matchup to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks. I thought in game 1 for the Celtics, Jrue Holiday was the MVP. I think we all agree. He was the veteran. He was the stable force. He guided everyone. He played a complete game. So when you think of guards of the past,
Mm.
do you think of JoJo? Do you think of DJ? Do you think of Danny when you look at Jrue Holiday?
And in terms of the combination of offense and defense, and the body type and all, the one that does come to mind is DJ,
Right.
Who came here as an acclaimed defensive player, but who was the MVP of a finals in 1979, during which he scored 20 points a game and blocked. This is still the greatest, one of my favorite trivias in all of sport ever, is that in the 6-game finals in 1979 against the Bullets, he blocked 14 shots from the guard position. Come on. And he scored 20 points a game, and he was the MVP. DJ, but I not quite complete comparison. Personality different. The style of play. There's only one DJ in that style, I think. But that's the closest offense-defense one. Sam was an offensive machine who could play defense, but he wasn't known for it. It was a little bit. It was definitely more of a scoring two guard who happened to play defense. Danny was a combo guard, underrated, I think, historically, frankly, and never gave up a cheap basket in his life. I mean, he played hard every second he ever was on the court, and it should be remembered. But I would say if you want to go for the offense-defense, it's DJ. Now but Holiday brings his own style of leadership. I call to people's attention as an interesting story. I learned a lot in the New York Times, which would be on the 23rd of May today, about Jrue Holiday and his background and the way he was raised, and by mom and dad, but mom's great influence and giving him a mindset that he carries to this day of selflessness and team first. That was instilled in him from pre-adolescence, and he preaches that gospel basically every day of his life, in his own family life and his team. So my only question now is, we're like his fourth team. I don't know. He should have been more prized, but we're lucky to have him. We only got him.
Well, look,
it wasn't with Damian Lillard.
But he was with teams originally. If I may give an opinion on that, I think. Yeah. I can't remember his first two teams, but
Philly was first.
Philly, the New Orleans?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, so you have to, though, if you're a player preaching team, those two organizations at that time really aren't buying in. Okay. Yeah. So then you go, to Milwaukee. He wins a title. And they obviously I don't know if it would have made a difference now, because I don't know where the freak's head is. But, they said, okay, we bring in Damon, we're going to improve. So that's almost a victim of circumstance. But you bring him to this team and you talk about how he has a team mindset. This is the perfect environment for him.
Oh, it is. It is perfect. It's ideal and in every way. By the way, he earned the respect of Giannis when he was in Milwaukee. That's part of that story that I was alluding to. And we're just so lucky to have him. And we're lucky, as we're lucky to have Derek White. We're lucky. And have these guys and have them both together is a dream scenario for him.
I would also say, if you look at the past, they are Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
They're Celtics.
Great. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Red would have been. Imagine. Oh God, Red would be proud of these guys. Tommy would be proud of these guys. Oh yeah. All the prior teammates, the Havliceks and the Nelsons and the Cowanses and Silases of the world would be thrilled to play with these guys. Absolutely, they're in that mold. No question.
No doubt about it. 1991 was quite an interesting year. We were coming to the end of the Bird era.
Yeah.
And the Rifleman was up there with the Pacers. How do you remember that series with the Celtics and the Pacers?
Well, right. Chuck Person was a real force, and there was a lot of back and forth going on, good-natured stuff to really, about it. And it was a 5-game series. And on Sunday afternoon, the Celtics are in trouble. Larry winds up going for it, bangs his head on the floor.
I know.
Bang, boom. Has to leave the game. They're trailing. Looks like the ship's going to sink, and we're going to go home in the first round. And Larry, and the videos out there, folks, is they show the cameras are on Larry emerging from the locker room,
Oh, yeah.
coming down the corridor. The cavalry is arriving, folks.
The Angels are singing. Oh!
Right, absolutely. The cavalry's arriving.
Oh.
The Angels are singing the hosannas. The crowd sees them. They go berserk.
They go crazy.
He comes in and he does it. He does the job. He becomes Larry Bird again, and they win the game. And after the game, Bob Hill, who had replaced who got fired? Somebody got fired in the beginning of the season by Indiana. He was the coach, and he said, "I told my guys he's coming back, and when he does, be ready." He did. I told my guys he's coming back, and damn if he didn't. It is one of the, in the bird lore, LORE, in the bird lore, it is one of the top 5, if not incidents of daring do, that he did. That it was really one of the last. He only had one more year, and after that, it might have been the last great moment.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, he had a 46. I think he had a 46-point game out in the next year, but it was, starting in '89. It was always a matter: is Larry going to be healthy?
Oh, the back. Oh, sure.
It was, and his rest of his career was always a matter: is Larry's available? And it was a struggle for those 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
And he did get out at the right time. He gave it a shot. He gave it a shot, and he got out at the right time.
Larry, if it weren't, he when they flew him over for the Olympics, he had to lie on the floor in a plane.
Right.
And, he only had one really good game in the Olympics against Germany, I remember. It was so ceremonial, but he wanted to be there, and he should have been there, and he was. And he and Magic got to play together, and it was, it was what it was. But it was definitely time. You're right. Time.
Playoff time, there is nothing like it. I mean, the energy, the effort amps up a good 50 to 75% compared to the regular season. And that's why you want to go to Game Time, the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA. Now, they make getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. And here's the deal with the Game Time app. The prices of those tickets go down the closer you get to tip-off. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and you can also get the view from your seats with the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So here's what you should do. You download the Game Time app and you browse it, and you can see that you can get Celtics playoff tickets for less than $150. And again, the closer to Game Time you get, the lower the ticket price is. These are terrific deals for big-time postseason games. Last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute sports, concert, comedy, theater tickets. All in pricing. Toggling this feature shows that the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, and also the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. So, take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
It's always dangerous to compare players of today to players of the past. But when you look at Larry in that game, and Bob Hill says he's coming back and be ready for him, and we all know the video of the bird. We see the name on the back of the warm-up jersey going through the Garden Tunnel. Was it? Yeah, the Garden Tunnel.
Yeah.
And
it was the original Garden.
Yeah, the original Garden, the Garden Tunnel, because Blue was not enough. Would today's player come back in a game like that? You would hope so, but now with load management, and when I was thinking about like Jason Tatum, and this isn't fair, and please, if you're watching this, I'm not being critical of Jason Tatum. I'm done with that. I think I'm talking about today's player, where agents and managers are saying you got to take care of your body, and your product is and it's true, your body is your livelihood.
Yeah.
I remember Jordan playing with 104-degree temperature.
Yeah.
Larry we just talked about that game, with
Isaiah Thomas and against the Lakers in '88, a 25-point period and on a bad leg.
yeah. So it's just, I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair, but that just isn't there anymore.
Well, no, the whole tenor. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to figure. You think about what individuals we might want to do it. We could. I don't know. Jimmy Butler, I guess, comes to mind. He's a tough guy.
Right.
But he is a standard of toughness right now in this game, quite frankly. So there's some out there, but no, I think you're right. The times are different. I'll tell you, somebody, no, because what flashed across my mind as you were speaking, because there's the suspicions of in LA when Pierce exited in a wheelchair.
Oh, right. Thank you.
In game one in '08 and came back. That has been greeted with profound skepticism out there in LA, about.
Well, Jackson, but the truth was he didn't need it.
No.
But it was a doctor, because I remember that because I was on the job.
Uh-huh.
The doctor, in defense of the doc, who, it was a Brian McKeon, I think, who unfairly took some criticism for this. He said, in his mind, in like 5 seconds, in his mind, and I think he made the right call, my star player just went down. Okay? I don't know what's going on. Put him in a wheelchair. It's the playoffs. And I know, and I think that was his reaction, that,
okay,
where he was like, and he took some grief for that after, and I was like, I just, I'll tell you, I've talked to medical professionals. They told me, and many have told me, they wouldn't be a team doctor if you paid them all the money in the world.
Well, interesting.
It's just, you can't win.
Can't win.
Because, look, the coaches always say it's up to the team doc. And then the players get the agent. But come on. I mean, the coach wants the guy to play. I mean, Belichick's famous for that. I don't know, talk to the team doctor. But you know how it is. So that story, I think has been a little exaggerated in that it was the doctor, and I think the doctor made the right call. He's the franchise, so he goes in the wheelchair, and then they find out everything's fine. That's it.
I give you one more example, off the top of my head here of
Sure.
a Celtic playing through an injury.
Right.
Very notably, that was McHale in '87. And his whole career changed in February of '87 when he was in the middle of his greatest season, and he got stepped on by Larry Nance, senior. Now you have to say senior,
Right?
And messed up his foot. And remember, by the time we got to the playoffs, Larry famously saying that Kevin shouldn't even be playing. Larry said it out loud, and Kevin was playing. And of course, the rest of his career, he was never quite the same.
Right.
He was still had his moments, of course, but he was never quite the same. But that was famous for Larry coming out and saying that about
Larry didn't say it, because Larry used to give credit. He used to give Kevin crap for not
Oh
practicing.
yeah, that was an interesting relationship, and those two.
And Kevin started shooting threes.
Well, he made a three in desperate. He had to take a three, and against the Pistons, I think it was, and it went in. And at the end of a 24-second clock, and it's almost like a light bulb went off his head. And from that point, he started turning himself into something of a 3-point shooter. And I asked him about this kiddingly once, and I said, Kevin, did you decide that I like taking these threes? It's better than getting the SHIT kicked out of you in the low post. And he said, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So but yeah, that was funny.
And then Bob, you mentioned this in our pre-show meeting. Pierce, when he went to the podium, bandage on his face, and Antoine was next to him. Antoine was laughing. I mean, what a crazy.
That was in Indiana too. That was against the Pacers in Indianapolis. I remember that night, and we're just our mouths fell open. What the hell is this?
Oh, yeah.
And they looked like, all I could think of was, the soldiers at Valley Forge and the famous pictures. But he's got the gauze. People, you have to, it was amazing.
You got to Google it because it was crazy.
Yep, it was. But that was
even looking at him like, "What are you doing?" He was. He's complaining about the fouls, the whole bit.
It was funny, but so anyway, we have our history with the Pacers. we have our history with the Pacers, and they're going to put up as I told you, they're going to put up a very good fight.
They're fun to watch. Look, it's been great. And the Pacers, an original ABA team? Original?
Oh, they certainly are. They were arguably the most successful. They won, I think, 3 championships, I believe, during the tenure. And of course, they're beloved out there. Those guys are beloved. The Roger Browns and Bob Netolickis and not Louis Dampier. He's not.
He was Kentucky. What about George McGinnis?
McGinnis, oh my God, who was a local kid, literally from Indianapolis. And oh yeah, those guys are beloved. I remember being out there the first time I ever went out there, and how revered they are. Also, when you go to what is now the Gamebridge, it's changed its name several times. Originally it was the Conseco Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
They built this thing. There's great homage to the ABA, but also there's great homage to high school and college in there.
Oh, sure.
You're reminded that basketball is a state religion in Indiana. And always has been, and going back into the early part of the 20th century. So, and of course, Hoosiers, as famous a basketball movie as there's ever been. So anyway, they love their basketball there, but their ABA people Slick Leonard was a god there.
Slick Leonard,
who is from, I believe, Terre Haute. He won a high school championship there in 1949. He won an NCAA championship there in 1953 with the Hoosiers, and he coached them. So he was absolutely
the immersion of the 4 ABA teams into the NBA. What did that do for the NBA?
Well, first of all, the All-Star game in 1977, 24 players, 10 of them were ABA expatriates. 10 of them had. With the 10 of the 24 players in the 1977 All-Star game, the first year of the merger, were ex-NBA players. That told you, that proved their point to how good they were compared. And I know I covered the Celtics, and throughout that period, in which they played exhibition games against the Nets, against the Pacers, against the Memphis, whichever pros or Tams they were at the time,
right?
And Carolina Cougars, Denver Nugget, and they lost those games. Some of those games,
Kentucky Colonels.
That opened, yeah. They never played them that I remember,
okay.
but they played all those teams. I mean, and I remember the Nets beating them. I remember Carolina beating them. And I'd open my eyes because I was a skeptic, and I got converted to, hey, those guys are pretty good.
Well, Issel, Dr. J, George McGinnis.
I think Hubie Brown was the head coach of the Kentucky Colonels that won the championship. His starting lineup was Artis Gilmore, Dan Issel, Cincy Powell, who was a bruising guy, Louis Dampier, and I think Darryl Carrier. And he will tell you he thinks that's the best team he ever coached. I think better than the Bucks, better than the Knicks.
Wow, I mean that's when Artis was good. I mean when Artis,
yeah. Well, I mean I was never a huge fan of Artis, but you got to give him his due, to a degree. Problem with Artis, this is a whole topic for another day. Of course, a great one. A sweet man, a wonderful, nice human being, an intelligent man, a sensitive man, and I don't think he loved basketball.
Right.
I think he's the original kid who was walking down the corridor, and the coach said, "Hey, big guy, come out for the team."
Right.
He was a gentle soul. He didn't have a killer instinct at all, and he just. He just wasn't all that competitive, but he was a very nice. You always remember that. I don't remember this when he joined the team. Larry adopted him. I don't know. Larry, maybe he saw. I want to get the most out of him. I want to how how can we benefit the most from this guy? And Larry became like his confidant, his mentor. Here's where we're going to eat. Here's where we're going to go. It's really interesting. And he gave him a couple of pretty good games, but he was what he was, but he's a nice human being.
Moses Malone, he was drafted by the Utah Stars, right?
He was drafted by the Stars at 18. It was right.
Yeah.
I remember. I'm telling you, I tell this story all the time. I was out there on the road with the Celtics, and I moonlighted off into the ABA to do a piece on the side. I went to a couple of ABA stops while I was on a Celtic West Coast road trip. I go to Utah. And I knew Larry Brown. I knew him at the time from when he was coaching in Carolina. And we're talking before, and he tells me this is Moses' rookie year. He said, "Bob, he's the greatest offensive rebounder I've ever seen in my life." And of course, at that time, the gold standard was Paul Silas, and I was, of course, I worshiped Paul Silas, And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" Then I saw him play. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Moses Malone, ladies and gentlemen, the first rule of rebounding is very simple. Above all else, do you want the damn ball or don't you? Do you want that ball? Is it like it's do you want that ball? I want that ball. Moses Malone wanted that ball as much as anybody has ever wanted. He would, and great rebounders get rebounds that, quote, don't belong to them. A lot of guys get rebounds. They're in the corridor, they box out, they get draw. But go after that extra. Moses Malone was as great a rebounder as we've ever known in that regard. He wanted that damn ball, and from the day he walked into on that court. So, but I'll never forget. He's the greatest. He was 18 or 19 years old, and this is what Larry Brown is telling me.
Well, yeah, because the ABA at the time, you could go right from high school into the.
Well, they were. The NBA wouldn't allow you those days, of course.
Nope.
But the ABA did, and no, he was going to go. He was famously going to go to Maryland. Lefty had recruited him. That's where he would have gone.
Yeah.
He would have gone to Maryland. But anyway, it all worked out for Moses. Three MVPs later.
Yeah, it all worked out. And of course, Larry had the famous quote, and we will end on that.
Yes.
That's back when players didn't share agents and have dinner together at All-Star games. Bob, always a pleasure, especially going down memory lane. We have 2 great conference finals to watch, and I will talk to you again next week.
Terrific. Good.